Hi everyone, how's my audio? Let me know. Let me know if you have my audio so we could review this video today. Mohammed Hijab had a few videos about Jordan Peterson, and apparently he also was invited on Jordan Peterson podcast. When that comes out, we'll see if we want to review that as well. I'm hoping so these videos were before the interview that Jordan Peterson and Mohammed Hijab had. Okay, so he did some videos targeting Jordan Peterson and his views, so that maybe to encourage Jordan Peterson to have him on, and apparently it worked. So that's very interesting to see. The interview that Mohammed Hijab is going to have with Jordan Peterson is going to be probably too long for us to review. That's why I'm really hoping that Mohammed Hijab cuts it into pieces and puts it on his channel. Okay. So that if Mohammed Hijab cuts it into pieces, smaller pieces, then each one of them would become a review topic for us. So I really hope he does that. I don't know if Jordan Peterson allows people to do that with his content. I think he does. I think he does. Yeah, because I've seen clips of Jordan Peterson all over the YouTube. So I think he does. So Hijab, Mohammed Hijab, you want to monetize that interview to put it on your own channel as well. Okay. Also, guys, today when we review these videos of Mohammed Hijab going after Jordan Peterson's views, we are going to you're going to hold me on to this. Okay. We're going to be as fair as possible. Okay. I'm going to try to make sure that if Mohammed Hijab makes a good point against Jordan Peterson, I'm going to be like, he has a point and that is correct. Okay, let's try to be as unbiased as possible. Okay. Before I start this review, let me see what people are saying in live chat. Somebody saying the F is this bullshit. Well, this is a review of Mohammed Hijab's views on Jordan Peterson's views. Okay, that's what it is. It's in the title. Read the title. Read the title. Okay, you guys. Some people are just swearing. There we go. Good. Okay, cool. So before we review this video, I want to point to this tweet. You're gonna see this tweet in the description. I also put it in the live chat. Guys, believers have taken down our Twitter account. They over reported it for with false copyright claims. So if you read this tweet, we tweeted at Twitter support. We tweeted at Twitter support saying, Twitter support, the account Atheist Republic has just been suspended after being repeatedly targeted with provably false copyright claims. The copyright system was exploited by those targeting the account by filing claims faster than the counter notifications could be processed. This is what believers do when they don't have any good arguments on their side, right? They have to find a way to silence you. This is when, ever since we did blasphemous art, people have gotten so buttered. They're coming after all our accounts, okay? So I'm going to link to this tweet in the live chat, okay? So you can see, you guys need to go and either retweet this. Actually, better, Susanna was very smart about this. Okay, you could retweet this, or even better, you could go copy that text, exactly that text, with the dot in front of the Twitter support, and tweet it out yourself as well to help us get our account back. Okay, so you can see in the live chat and in the description, I wrote, "Believers have taken down our Twitter account. Please retweet." Oh, I said retweet twice. Please retweet this tweet so that we can get it back. Okay, hold on. I will fix that later. There's 2 retweets. Okay, so go either retweet it, or actually better yet, just copy and paste this and post it yourself as a new tweet. Okay. Anyways, thank you for that. Please do go ahead and do that. That would really help us for Twitter support to notice this. Okay. All right. So let's go back to the review video. Oh my God, look at this. Look at how stupid people are. LOL, believers. Where's your evidence that it's believers took down your Twitter account? You are such an idiot. Oh my God. How could you be this stupid? Dude, it's obviously the believers. They have been provably, there are so many campaigns. There's so many campaigns in taking our Twitter account. They have filed court cases against us. They have taken us to the Supreme Court. They have legal campaigns to pressure Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube to either completely take us down or completely block us in India. Like, how dumb do you have to be? Like, how stupid do you have to be? Why would look? Who do you think is trying to take down our accounts? Who do you think it is? The angry economist? How stupid do you have to be to ask that question? Yes, it's the believers. God damn it. What an idiot. All right, let's continue with this review. Wow, people are angry in the live chat today. This is great. I love all the butter. Okay, let me know if you have the audio. Did you hear that? Let me know if you had that. Did you hear that? Did you hear him saying Assalamu alaikum, or do I have to reshare the screen? Tell me. Thank you. Wow, so you guys are doing the tweets already. Oh, okay, no idea. Okay, this happens sometimes, and I have to reshare the screen. I don't know why it does that sometimes. There we go. One more time. Did you have that audio? So, okay, look. Thank you, Saad, for doing the tweet. Really appreciate that. Guys, look at the link in the description. Go make that tweet. Did you hear it the second time? Yes, got it. Yes, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, guys. Cool. Yeah. Look at this. There is a lot of antagonistic energy. Guys, look at all the butthurt in the live chat. Today is people are angry. I love it. Come at me. Come at us. Like, help us. Yeah, help us with the engagement. Look at these idiots. Look at these people. They're putting one. They're trying to. Guys, look at these. Look at how pathetic believers are. They're trying to look. They're putting one. They're putting more one. Like, look, there was a whole bunch of ones at the top. Oh, did you guys remove them? No, let them be there. Let's let them keep posting their ones. I don't know what the hell is this.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you guys doing? This is, inshallah, the first of a series of correction videos which we'll be putting forward, inshallah, about Dr. Jordan Peterson's content, especially in relation to Islam. Now, for those who know, we were meant to be having, me and Dr. Jordan Peterson, a discussion. And this discussion was meant to happen actually 3 times, and it was cancelled, unfortunately, that many times in a span of 6 months. Now, for whatever reason, in fact, the third reason was, or the third time he gave me the reason that it was because he had other guests and other topics that he wanted to kind of speak about. But no problem. I know that Dr. Jordan Peterson may be watching this now, since we've had such communication with his team and with himself for over a long span of time. So this is the first and probably one of the most important videos about some of the wording that Dr. Jordan Peterson has decided to use about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And in his public output, this is probably the most developed speech he has on the topic. So let's see what he has to say and come back and commentate on it.
If you look at the figure of Christ, and I don't care if you're religious or not, and I don't even care if Christ existed or not, and I certainly don't care at the moment about claims to divinity or the lack thereof. It's just... So
this must be a very old video, because Jordan, I don't know, is it if it is an old video, because recent videos I've seen of Jordan Peterson, he very much cares about the divinity of Jesus, whether he was real or not. He cried about it. So I don't know when this video is from.
At the moment about claims to divinity or the lack thereof. It's just speaking as, let's say I'm speaking as a secular intellectual. I mean, as a figure, he's a figure of peace. I don't think that that's dispute.
Bull crap. Jesus is not a figure of peace. Jesus specifically himself said that he's not here to bring peace. He's here to bring the sword. I don't understand this idea of Jesus being the figure of peace. Okay. He specifically said he was not there to do that in the Bible. Okay. Again, I know this is all fiction. What we know really about Jesus is very little. But even as a fictional character, if you believe what he said, if his rebellion was successful, if he actually managed, his cult became more than a cult while he was alive, he could have been even worse than Muhammad. Like, Just don't tell us Jesus was a figure of peace just because he wasn't as successful as Muhammad when it came to his cult growing. Muhammad was successful. He managed to take over the religious authorities that he was rebelling against. Jesus wasn't successful. He was crucified. He was killed before he became successful. So, but while he was there, in fact, he was more aggressive than Muhammad while he was alive. Muhammad was like, oh yeah, to each their own religion. You do you, we do us, when he was like not in power. And then when he got power, he was like, yeah, we're gonna annihilate everybody who disagrees with us. Okay. So when he got power, he said that. Like before, he was like, "Hippie Muhammad, to each to you your own religion, to us our religion. Like just chill, just chill, and let's just be. It's okay. Just let us have our religion." Okay. Jesus was like, "I'm here to bring the sword from the before his cult turned into anything more than a cult." So I don't understand how. Where is it, guys? Jesus went and whipped people for doing business in the temple because he was like, "This is my daddy's house. This is my papa's house." Like he claimed, like there were temples, and this is random loon, this random crazy person who thinks this is like some holy figure. I mean, technically, he didn't think he was the son of God. That was a later addition to the Bible. But let's say we're talking about the fictional Jesus, not the real Jesus. Okay. He thought he was like the son of God, and like, this is my daddy's house. This is my daddy's house. You're selling stuff in my daddy's house. And he starts flipping tables and whipping people. Okay. Muhammad did not do that at his peaceful phase. Muhammad started getting aggressive once he got power. Okay. But Jesus was like a crazy person, aggressive, even his pre-takeover, period. And he never matured. He never went past that. He never managed to do what Muhammad did. So he might have been even more crazy, more aggressive than Muhammad if he actually got power in his hand. Oh, look at it. Okay, like Armin already off topic. He just said Jesus is a figure of peace. How is this off topic? You're an idiot. Guys, today the energy in the live chat is amazing. You guys, there's a lot of idiocy. Was that against me? I don't know.
Mutable. I mean, he wasn't a warlord.
Guys, like Jesus, the original Marxist base. Yeah, if you go into the temple and flip tables and whip people just for doing business, you need to be arrested. That Jesus was a criminal. Jesus was like, he was a criminal. Like, how dare you do that? Like, not only Jesus was not peaceful, the people around him seemed to be very peaceful, because how did he manage to attack people in the temple simply for doing business, and he didn't get beaten up? Okay, like, why did people ran away? Apparently people around him were a lot more peaceful than him. Instead of like beating him up, they ran away. Look at this. I came for the debate. I stayed for Armin. Never heard of him, but he's hilarious. Oh, thank you, Ahmed.
That's one thing that's for certain. He never led armies, whereas that's not.
He never led armies because he never managed to be as successful as Muhammad. Okay, he was rebelling against religious authorities at his time, just like Muhammad did. He lost. He got killed. He didn't manage to lead armies. Guess why? Because he be dead. He be dead. He was crucified. He lost. He lost the game. You don't know what Jesus would have been like if he did have armies.
With Muhammad at all. Muhammad was clearly and indisputably a warlord. And so it isn't obvious to me what to make of that.
Imagine Jesus being a warlord, the man that at his peaceful phase said, "I'm here to turn a father against his own son, a mother against her own daughter." And the man that said, "If you love your mother or father or your family more than you love me, then you're not with me." That dude, imagine if that guy, Jesus guy, had an army. Yeah, it wouldn't go very well. I'm glad that, you know what? Good job, Romans. You stopped a dangerous man. You stopped a madman. Okay? It was a good thing that you stopped Jesus. I approve of Jesus's. Yeah, no, actually, maybe no. Actually, never mind. I'm against capital punishment, and that was a cruel way you did it. But maybe you should have just put him in prison. And well, you're Roman, so you wouldn't do that. But anyways, I take that back. Cruel and unusual way of killing people is not good. But net benefit, I think Jesus would have been an insane warlord.
Except that it's bloody complicated.
Well, I think the first thing we have to do is define what a warlord is. Now, this is a definition.
Oh my God. Okay, definitions. Sure. You know, like maybe address what is trying to be said here. Okay, like we're gonna go for definitions. Maybe the understanding is like, was Muhammad peaceful? Jordan Peterson is saying Muhammad is not a peaceful dude. Okay, he thinks Jesus was a peaceful dude. Muhammad was not a peaceful dude. He describes it in a way of saying he's a warlord. Now you're getting all pedantic with me, and you're gonna like, well, technically, this is the definition of a warlord, and Muhammad was not a warlord. You know, you could argue semantics, or you could address the point that is being made here. But go on.
From Collins. If you describe a leader of a country or an organization as a warlord, Collins tells us, you are critical of them because they have achieved power by behaving in an aggressive and violent way. Kimberly Martin, in a piece that she wrote called Warlordism in Comparative Perspective, this is in political science literature, she actually defines warlord in 4 different ways. She says, number one, that they trained armed men to take.
Okay, so check. Well, I mean, this is Muhammad. Okay, so wait a minute. Using violence to take power, Muhammad passes that. Okay, what is this one?
She says, number one, that they trained armed men to take advantage of the disintegration of a central authority.
Hey, that matches Muhammad's story quite well.
To seize control of relatively small slices of territory.
Yeah.
Number two, she says that their actions are based on self-interest, not ideology.
Really? That's the definition of warlord? That it has to be based on self-interest, not ideology? Wait a minute. You're not a warlord if you are doing it based on ideology? Well, I mean, what? That's a stupid definition. Like, how did you just Muhammad Hijab? Be honest with me. Did you like went over like 20 different definitions of warlord, and you happened to found one that doesn't fit Muhammad and are reading that one? Like, wait a minute. Like, if I search for warlord define, because it mentioned that they shouldn't be like warlord, a military commander, especially an aggressive regional commander with individual autonomy. Okay, so why didn't you just go with the standard dictionary definition? You went and found one weird definition that just happens that Muhammad wouldn't fit. Like, really, if you are a warlord and doing it based on ideology, then you're not a warlord anymore? I don't understand. This is a weird. Yeah, and also Susanna is saying this is just one academic stuff. Yeah, this is not. Yeah, exactly, Susanna. This is not like D with a capital T definition of warlord. This is just one person's opinion of warlord, what the warlord is. And Muhammad is like, this is it. This settles that this is the absolute definition of a warlord. And based on that, Muhammad doesn't fit this definition. Great job, Muhammad.
And number three, their authority is based on charisma and patronage, ties to their followers. And number four,
that one fits Muhammad.
Personalistic rule leads to the fragmentation of political and economic arrangements across the country.
Well, that fits. Wow, that really fits Muhammad. Okay.
So these are, if we look at this now, we've got one dictionary definition.
Okay.
Obviously, you can look at other dictionaries, but we have one, if you want to call it that, terminological definition from the literature, from the political science literature.
According to one person, this is not the definition.
Now, Jordan Peterson is famous for saying you have to be precise in speech. Now, I want to say to Jordan Peterson that unfortunately, according to these two definitions, using the term warlord is not precise because, in fact, the
Well, why didn't you read the definition? Okay, he acknowledges that there's also a dictionary definition. Okay, so why didn't you read the dictionary definition? Because the dictionary definition fits Muhammad being a warlord. Why didn't you just read that one? Why didn't you read other definitions? Huh? Hijab. Why didn't you read? Tell me. Why didn't you? Did you read the other definitions and realize that they match Muhammad quite well? Did you? Come on. Just be honest with me. Come on, you did that. You did that, right?
Prophet would be disqualified from being a warlord as per those definitions. Why so? Because the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how did he achieve power? Now we have to look at, obviously you have the Meccan period and the Medinan period. This is the kind of categorization, the biography.
Yeah, right. So the Meccan period was his peaceful time before he had power. The Medinan period is the time that he managed to take over and become a warlord and take control, and that's when his not so peaceful period. Okay, so the Meccan period is when his Jesus-y phase, and the Medinan period is his not so, Jesus's phase if Jesus managed to have a successful rebellion.
Graphical categorization of the Prophet's life. You had two major, or his premiership as a prophet, his time as a prophet. You had the Meccan period, 13 years, and then 10 years in the Medinan period. When the Prophet was migrating, or when he was being boycotted and persecuted, and this we know in the seerah, in the biography of the Prophet,
which is not at all academic or scholarly. Like all the seerah is a biography of Muhammad. None of this, a very little of it has been proven to be true, right? So basically, it's talking about the hijrah, the migration from Muhammad went from Mecca to Medina. So this marks when he goes from the Meccan period to the Medina period. This is when the Islamic calendar is based on. This is day 0 for the Islamic calendar.
He was being persecuted. His friends and followers were being persecuted.
Yeah, Qasim saying, more in Muhammad, pussycat. More in Medina, pussycat with power. Okay.
Persecuted in Mecca for 13 years. There was then a transition period where the Prophet ﷺ, peace and blessings be upon him, tried to religiously incentivize groups and tribes outside of Mecca in order to move away and to move his followers away from such boycott and persecution that they were facing for a very long span of time. So he went to Taif, which is a place outside of.
He raided caravans and took their money.
Mecca, and he was rejected fiercely. I mean, this is the thing about the Prophet Muhammad. You have to humanize him, because he was a man, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who was an orphan. Okay, think about this for a second.
This sounds like when you have a villain in a fictional story, but you're trying to make him more relatable. Like, so for example, if you have a Thanos or I don't know, some other evil villain like Voldemort, right? You can't just make them like cartoonishly. If you want to write good fiction, you can't just make them cartoonishly evil, right? You have to give them a backstory. You have to make them. It has to make sense for the reader to like, why did they do the horrible things that they did? Like you have to, even if you don't agree, like, you don't want to endorse their horrible things, you kind of have to be a little bit sympathetic, even with the villains of a fiction. That's like how a good fiction works, right? So what it seems like is Muhammad Hijab is trying to like use sympathetic element of Muhammad's story to just be like, this is why Muhammad did what he did. But again, that doesn't Muhammad Hijab, that doesn't make not make him like the villain of the story. He will still be evil, right? Just like if you could sympathize with Thanos or Voldemort's, like, I don't know, childhood story or whatever they had, that doesn't mean like Voldemort was not the evil villain of the story. He's still the evil villain. Okay, so you now all of a sudden trying to humanize Muhammad and be like, this is why he did the things he did. That doesn't make him not the villain. He's still the evil villain. Oh, this is sad now. So sad.
The man who's an orphan. He was a man who buried all of his children except for one. He was a man who.
Oh yeah.
Who
wait, except for one. Yeah, Fatima.
His wife died, Khadija.
Wait, all his children, he didn't have any children. It was like Abraham, Fatima, a few other.
Who was a man who his wife died, Khadija, who his uncle died, Abu Talib, who was one of the most protective and actually
This is so sad. Muhammad was so sad. Life so hard. This is why he killed people. This is why Muhammad went on a murderous rage. Okay, it's not his fault. He just had a very, very, very sad life.
Central protective figure in his life, and this was in the Meccan period. And he wasn't even a Muslim, by the way. And when that protection went away, he had to then seek it from other places. So he went to Taif, and Taif was a neighboring city. and they rejected him fiercely. And if you look at the reports of that,
wait, hold on a second, guys. Hold on a second. We have people in the live chat that are saying La ilaha illallah and that there is no God but Allah. Oh, well, thank you for telling us. I'm just going to stop this live stream right now. Why didn't you just tell us that earlier? You just convinced all of us just by saying that. Thank you so much. I didn't know. Why didn't anybody tell me that till now? God damn it, guys, look at this message. Why didn't you tell me?
they threw stones at him, they taunted him. He was bleeding, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so much so that his sandals were filled with blood. This is the person you're talking about as being a warlord. And then after that, when he was rejected from that particular city, he went to another place, which was then called Yathrib, which would then be called Medina, where two tribes or clans called Al-Aws al-Khazraj were there. Now, these two tribes, they accepted the message of Islam.
Mm-hmm.
And then they decided to put the Prophet as the leader of the polity.
Except, actually, if you read the Medina Constitution, the agreement that they signed, first of all, they didn't accept his message. Some of them did, but not, some of the people who just signed the agreement that they have with Muhammad, they just accepted that he's going to rule. He's going to be a mediator in Medina or so, whatever, right? But they were still Jewish. Like a lot of them remained Jews, even though they agreed to the terms. But if you look at the signatories to that agreement, to that constitution, the tribes, the Jewish tribes that Muhammad eventually does a genocide on. Okay, I don't know if I can say this on YouTube. Okay, like the one that he the one tribe that he just annihilates, and then all men, and then sells the women and children. Muhammad sells the women and children, and with the money that he that he gets from selling the women and children from that murder, from that genocide, from that mass murder, he buys weapons of war with. Guys, imagine your prophet. Imagine believing in a religion where the prophet annihilates an entire Jewish tribe, kills all the men, and sells the women and children. This is in your Sirah, by the way, Muhammad Hijab. You mentioned the Sirah. This is in the same Sirah, okay? And then sells the women and children as sex slaves and use the money from that to buy weapons. Imagine that being the person you celebrate as the prophet of your religion. Unbelievable. And you're like, well, oh yeah, he wasn't a warlord. He was a nice person. Oh my God, he was best the model for all mankind forever and ever. Amazing. Okay, guys, this is actually in Muhammad's biography. This is not disputed. This is there. They believe this. This is part of Islam. Okay. It's also referred to in hadith as well. So in Sahih hadith. What was I getting at with? Oh yeah, I was saying that for some reason, like some people excuse that mass murder genocidal act. Yeah, Susanna's saying definitely not a warlord. Yeah. Just sold women and children to buy weapons of war. Definitely not a warlord. That tribe, some Muslims excuse that by saying that they agreed when they were they agreed to those conditions. Like they had this coming to them because they accepted the terms. Like when they accepted Muhammad as the as a person that's going to be apparently in charge of Medina for now. By the way, this story is unbelievable. This random person shows up and he just has a good reputation, and just like, okay, we're just going to make you rule everything now. Thank you very much. But anyways, guys, the people who wrote the Islamic stories, they didn't spend enough time to make it believable, right? Let's just say that's true. They're saying you agreed to the terms, so you had this coming. Muhammad had the right to do this to you. First of all, if you read, there's nowhere set in there that says that if you accuse us of betrayal, you get to just annihilate all of us. That wasn't part of the agreement. Okay, that's first of all. Second of all, the tribe that Muhammad did this to, their name is not part of the signatory. Like they're not there. They're absent. Okay. And I think this is also one reason is because these stories are made up. Okay. So again, you know, the writers weren't that careful in making sure everything makes sense. But let's say the stories are true, they weren't part of the signatory to that agreement. Okay. And third of all, this is collective punishment. I'm sure the children and the women that you were selling to slavery, they weren't like sitting at the table and being like, yes, we agree to this as well. Okay. And I'm pretty sure the number of Jewish people that like you claim that betrayed Muhammad wasn't every single person in that tribe. Okay. When Muhammad says like, okay, let's kill every single person from this tribe, from this Jewish tribe, when he agrees to that verdict, okay, and he says Allah also loves this verdict, okay, agrees with this verdict, I'm pretty sure not all like the oldest man in the tribe and the older teenager who had pubic hair. By the way, guys, the way they decided who's an adult and okay to kill is that they pulled off their pants and checked if it had pubic hair. Okay, so they were checking pubic hair from, you know, looking at children's, you know, genitals and everybody, just to check like if you have pubic hair, that means you die. If you didn't have pubic hair, you're a child, so we sell you as a slave. That's how they did it. Again, I'm not making this stuff up. This is Islamic text. This is part of Sirah. Okay, this is part of Sirah. This is the guy that this person is saying was not a warlord. Okay. So, but I'm just like, I'm sure like some people get their pubic hair by like, I don't know, 13, 14. So that makes you an adult apparently in Islam and okay to murder, apparently, according to Islam, because some person in your tribe betrayed Muhammad. But apparently you get to be punished as well because collective punishment, right? Anyways, let's continue. Yeah, no. Jor is saying, I don't get it. How do they defend this stuff? Okay, to be fair to most Muslims have not read the Sirah. Okay, I have no idea. Like more Muslims need to read their own text. Okay, so most Muslims don't know this, but Muhammad Hijab knows this. Daniel Hayyaju knows this. Ali Dawa knows this. They know this, and they still defend it.
Of Yathrib. So he was made into the leader of the polity of Yathrib, not through aggression or violence, but through popular support. And this disqualifies him from being a warlord, according to the dictionary definition.
Wait, what? Wait, I missed that part. How is he not a warlord after all of this?
Leader of the polity of Yathrib, not through aggression or violence, but through popular support. And
what? Wait, what?
Not through aggression or violence, but through popular tribes. They accepted the message of Islam. And then they decided to put the Prophet as the leader of the polity of Yathrib.
Oh, okay. So this is a very beautifully done, very beautiful trick. Okay. So Muhammad has a lot of examples. Wow. This is called cherry picking, guys. This is called cherry picking. Throughout Muhammad's story, after he gets power, guys, we have a problem with Muhammad being a warlord after he got power in Yathrib. By the way, Yathrib and Medina. Yathrib is the name of the city in Medina before Muhammad took over it, right? They renamed the city to Medina to Nabi after Muhammad took over, right? So it's, oh my gosh, what a dishonest. So we're like, okay, the guy was not a warlord. He gets power. They put him in charge in Yathrib and Medina, and after that, he gets more and more power, and he turns into a warlord. And all the examples that we have of him being a warlord is from him after gaining power in Yathrib, right? So he's saying, well, he wasn't a warlord because at the moment that they were giving him power in Yathrib or in Medina, okay, at that time, they agreed to give him the power. Wow. Okay, guys, Adolf H., you know who I'm talking about, right? Adolf H., the leader of Germany during World War II, okay? He was democratically put in charge. Okay? It was democratic elections that put that man in charge. So you can't say that he was a genocidal maniac that murdered a whole bunch of people unjustly. He was not a warlord, okay? Adolf Hitler was not a warlord because he was democratically elected. His party was democratically elected. And him being the leader in that party, obviously he's in charge now. So you can't criticize Adolf Hitler. This is exactly the same thing. We have so many stories of Muhammad acting like a warlord, and you're like focusing on the time that he was selected to be in charge of Medina and saying like, if we zoom in at this particular time and this particular definition during this event, he was not a warlord. Therefore, he was never a warlord. Like, what? Guess what? What if I go and steal money from people, rob people, okay? And then you call me a thief. I'm like, how dare you call me a thief? I'm not stealing any money from anybody at this moment right now. Right this moment, in the past 5 minutes or so, I haven't stolen any money. So I'm definitely not a thief. You can only call me a thief in the moment that I'm doing stealing. Like I'm a thief. Like let's say on, I don't know, just Fridays, okay, and only for an hour or so, okay. But most of the time, I'm not stealing anything, so I'm not a thief. That's secularity. Like I don't know. Yeah. Oh my God! Look at this. This kid, like, I made this atheist say there is no God but Allah. Dude, we have done the like you haven't done anything. We have done the shahada for joke for so many times on the stream. So many times. We have done the full shahada. Wow, so such an accomplishment. Everybody clap for Evolve. He made an atheist say there is no God but Allah. What an accomplishment. You made it, Evolve. You made it in life. You made it. Oh my God. How did you trick me into saying that? You must be so proud. If your mommy could see, if your mommy could just see you right now, making an atheist say, well, no, she would cry. She would be so proud of her little baby. Oh. Anyways, let's continue.
Yathrib. So he was made into the leader of the polity of Yathrib, not through aggression or violence, but through popular support. And this disqualifies him from being a warlord, according to the dictionary definition that we've just seen. And in fact...
Okay, you know what, Mohammed Hijab? I'll give you that. Prophet Muhammad, was not being a warlord at that moment. Okay? At that moment in time, he was not being a warlord. Okay? Guess what? Even after he became a warlord, there were moments that he was not warlording. Okay? When Muhammad was taking a crap, when Muhammad was having sex with his sex slaves, okay? Actually, no, never mind. That is part of being a warlord, okay? When he was taking a dump, okay? When he was taking a dump, he was not being a warlord, okay? When Muhammad was sleeping, okay? When he was asleep, he was not at that time being a warlord, okay? And at this moment that you're mentioning as well, when they put him in charge of Yathrib, at that moment, he was not warlording, okay? We give you that. That does not make him not a warlord.
According to the terminological definition that we've also just seen as well. So this is, in fact, Jordan Peterson, and this is very important for you because it's one of your rules in your book. This is imprecise speech.
Oh, look at this. He didn't wipe out the whole tribe, LOL. Yeah, no, I know he didn't. He sold the rest to slavery. That's what I said. Maybe pay attention.
It is imprecise speech, inaccurate speech.
Imprecise speech because he was not being a warlord during Yasser. Oh God, Mohammed Hijab, how do you ever imagine that you're an intellectual? How did that ever came across to your mind that you are actually somebody smart and an intellect? You use fancy words and you think that's what it takes to be an intellectual. Okay, you're an idiot. You're a moron. Okay, you're like Muhammad did not do warlording at the specific time. Therefore, your definition of Muhammad being a warlord is inaccurate. You're an idiot, Mohammed Hijab. Okay, like I don't understand. How do people see this guy as somebody to listen to?
What is really incumbent upon you, I think, from an intellectual perspective, is for you to make a formal retraction about this. To say, actually, I used imprecise speech because I used one aspect of this man's life inaccurately to typify his whole character. And by the way, Warlord...
One aspect, dude, if you kill somebody, you're a murderer, okay? You're a murderer. You can't be like, Like, let's say you kill somebody, you can't be like, I'm not a murderer because most of my life I haven't murdered people. Okay, it takes half a second for you to be a murderer. Like, you will always be a murderer once you kill one person unjustly. Okay, so you can't be like, well, 99.999% of my life I don't kill people.
And I've looked at a lot of your videos, because remember, we were meant to be speaking to each other for a span of 6 months, and I've seen the majority of your videos. I've read the majority of what you've written, even peer-reviewed stuff, by the way. The word warlord, interestingly, you have not used it with to my knowledge, any other person except for the Prophet Muhammad. So if it was about leading armies, then why not use that with Harry Truman, who detonated bombs on Japan, Hiroshima and Nagasaki?
Why would he talk about that? What? Why would we talk about that? I mean, maybe if you ask him, is this guy a warlord, he would be like, yeah. The question was specifically why Muhammad. I mean, did anybody, like these other people who are warlords, did somebody ask Jordan Peterson if they should like follow that person as a role model? Like, why would he just randomly go pick warlord? Like, yes, Jordan Peterson, you should just spend time, just go pick random warlords throughout history and be like, oh yes, I formally will, based on my definition, acknowledge that this person is a warlord. Okay, just randomly go pick people. Like, why? Did somebody ask if they're warlords? Did somebody ask if you're following that person as a role model? And why are you following them as a role model? Why would he go out and tell you that these other people were also warlords? I mean, this is the most ridiculous case of whataboutism I've ever seen. Like, so random. Like, at least what other forms of whataboutism is actually somewhat relevant and it's an excuse, it's a form of distraction. But there's like a reason why somebody would say, what about this? This is just like randomly other people that has nothing to do with the discussion at hand. Why would he mention that they're warlords? Somebody in the video you posted, you showed us, somebody was specifically asking, why couldn't Muhammad's story or archetype or whatever be used as a role model or whatever? So obviously he's going to talk about that.
Why not use it with Winston Churchill, who led campaigns in Dresden and Hamburg in World War II? Okay.
Why would he talk about that?
Which was targeting civilians. The Prophet Muhammad unequivocally.
I mean, did somebody ask Jordan Peterson or if those people are warlords? Maybe if you ask him, he will be like, yeah.
Denied the targeting of civilians. So why only?
Oh, actually, you're right, Mohammed. Well, actually, no, never mind. Wait, okay. So in the example I gave you, women and children were spared, okay? But the men who were killed, they were not all. They were civilians. He wiped out the entire tribe. Also, we have hadiths of Muhammad specifically people asking Muhammad, saying that Muhammad, when we attacked, we actually killed a bunch of children. And Muhammad this is hadith. Muhammad specifically said, it's their children. It's the polytheist children. It's the polytheist children. Like, it's cool. It's cool. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's one of theirs. This is hadith. This is Islamic hadith. What are you talking about? Muhammad said, don't target civilians. Okay, let's be fair. We have hadith of Muhammad saying, don't kill these civilians, okay? We have that. But we also have hadith and sirah of him saying, kill the civilians. So what now? This is maximum cherry picking.
Use it with the Prophet Muhammad. Why have you never used it on your public output, on your books, with any other figure except for the Prophet Muhammad?
Because he's not following the other warlords, and nobody's asking Jordan Peterson, why are you not following Genghis Khan as a role model? Why can't Genghis Khan be a role model? Okay, that's why he doesn't talk about them being a warlord. They ask him, if you could see Jesus as a role model, why not Muhammad? That's why he will mention that, well, he thinks Muhammad is a warlord, and that's why he doesn't see him fit as a role model. That's why he's mentioning that. Why would he go and announce Genghis Khan to be a role model, to be a warlord? Well, we wouldn't do that because we all know he was a warlord. God damn it.
Kind of exceptionalism is this? What kind of fetishization is this? What kind of exoticism is this? What kind of Western gaze?
This is exoticism. He's just like, I'm just going to use words. I'm just going to use big words, big boy words, because that's apparently, I don't have to make, here's Mohammed Hijab, okay? I don't have to make sense to be an intellectual. I just have to use big boy words. I'm just going to use big boy words. And I think like that's what's make me an intellectual, right? That's what it is. That's how it works.
Is this?
This has no, what is fetishism? What has this got to do with anything you're talking about?
Fetishism is this? What kind of Western gaze is this? Orientalizing.
It's not a Western gaze, dude. People in the same region considered Muhammad to be like an evil warlord. Like the first historical account, the first provably historical account, non-Islamic historical account that we have of Muhammad is somebody describing him as a warlord, okay, from the region.
The narrative is this. You got to think about this, because if it was about leading armies, then all of these other figures also led armies. More so, the biblical figures.
Nobody is saying they're not warlords. That's why we're not debating that. Nope, these other people who be warlords, nobody is acting like, nobody's defending Genghis Khan. Like, no, he was not a warlord. That's why we're not talking about it. It's because you idiots are saying Muhammad was not a warlord. So we have to come up like, no, actually, he was a warlord. That's why we're talking about that. That's why we're not mentioning those other people.
Figures. Joshua, Moses, they led armies. But when you mention their name, you don't automatically, it doesn't spew off your tongue the term warlord. So why is it the case that you've made this exception for the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? You are a clinical psychologist. You're a clinical psychologist, Jordan Peterson. And you also self-profess ignorance on the religion of Islam. The fact that you've used the term...
You don't need to be an expert in Islam to know somebody like Muhammad is a warlord, okay? You just need to have the most basic information about what he did, and he's a warlord. Like, yo, like, oh my God, look at this. Like, guys, how much do you guys know about I don't know, Adolf H, right? Like, do you need to be an expert to realize that he was a warlord? How many of you have read the entire history of Genghis Khan? Okay, his childhood, his life story, the campaigns. Like, how many of you know exactly the ins and out of all he did and his philosophy and why he did what he did? I'm guessing a lot of you haven't. Okay, I'm guessing most of you haven't. Okay, but is it safe for us to say that Genghis Khan was a warlord? Like, do I need to know more details than what I already know about his life to be able to say that Genghis Khan was a warlord? I don't need that. It's obvious. Okay.
You're a clinical psychologist, Jordan Peterson. And you also self-profess ignorance on the religion of Islam. The fact that you've used the term warlord to define the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ as an adjective, as a primary adjective when it comes to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, is almost equivalent to you with a limited data set of information as a clinical psychologist labeling a client or a patient of yours.
How much information do you need, Mohammed Hijab, to know like somebody, like if I murder somebody and that's all you know about me, if that's all you know about me and you call me a murderer, I don't get to like, you don't know the details of my life, Mohammed Hijab. You don't know how I was raised. You don't know what I do most of the time. You don't know my philosophy. You don't know my way of life. You don't know the things I like. You don't know my favorite color, Mohammed Hijab. Do you know my favorite color? If you don't know my favorite color, how dare you call me a murderer? You don't need to know my favorite color. You just have to know that I murdered somebody. That's all you need to know.
That is the equivalent. Now, what would happen if you did that in practice? You would be shunned. You would be not accept. How can you label someone after or only gathering very limited information about them? So is this a cognitive bias that exists within you? And you have to ask yourself this question, because it's some kind of a projection or a scapegoating of the Prophet Muhammad and Islam Or is it because you're trying to energize your base, which is an alt-right base? Or is it because you're
Wow. Imagine. Okay.
trying to...
I don't know if Jordan Peterson saw Mohammed Hijab calling his base an alt-right base, because I remember Jordan Peterson crying about that a bit when other people assumed that all his followers are alt-right. So I don't know if he heard this before he invited you.
perpetuate a clash of civilizations narrative? Or is it because of genuine ignorance? In either or any of these situations, what is once again incumbent upon you, Jordan Peterson, I say this through or out of genuinity, honestly, and authenticity, I think what is incumbent upon you, and I know you're watching this, I know you're listening to this, is that you make an official retraction of this statement.
So for those of you who don't know, this was when Mohammed Hijab was not sure if Jordan Peterson is going to have him on the podcast as well, because he was getting frustrated because he was waiting for 6 months to get invited on Jordan Peterson's podcast. So he released a couple of videos like this to get Jordan Peterson to have him on. Okay, but it worked. So there's that.
Otherwise, you're going to have so many variables, which we've just mentioned, that you will not be able to explain. That you've used this term with the Prophet and you've not used it with any other political leader. This is unjustifiable.
Hey, I'll use it. Which political leader? Okay, I will tell me. Give me their name. I'll call them warlords. Mohammed Hijab, come here. Let's talk. Give me political leaders. I will call them. I will label. I dub them warlords for you. Okay. I'll make you happy. Okay. I'll say I say your prophet Muhammad is a warlord, and you mention all these other people who be doing wars, and I will say like warlord, and then you give me another one. Like warlord. Would that make you happy? I will call them all warlords, every single one of them. Okay, I will call them warlords for you. Would that make you happy, Mohammed Hijab, if y'all be consistent and call them all warlords?
Say the least. You've not used it even with biblical prophets, which led armies. So once again, it's unjustifiable. Now let's move on to the second part of this, which is your comparison, your false comparison, with all due respect, your false comparison of the Prophet Muhammad. So
look at this idiot. So play the video and stop yapping. You're a moron. This is a review video. Do you not know how review videos work? What the hell? What do you want? Go watch. You don't like this? Well, watch the video directly. Do you understand the concept of a video review? Do you understand how stupid you look when you don't know what we're doing here? You want me to just sit back and just play the video? Do you know that would get me in trouble for a copyright strike, by the way, if I did that? How stupid do you have to be? Like, just play the video. Okay, just sit back and just play the video. Where do you think you are? This is a review video. God damn it.
Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and Jesus Christ. Now, the first thing is, you said that Jesus was a figure of peace. Now, we agree with that. We love Jesus Christ as Muslims.
But it's like, ignore trolls. Why would I ignore trolls? They're so funny. They're so stupid. I enjoy dumping on them. Let me have my fun with the trolls.
Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and Jesus Christ. Now, the first thing is, you said that Jesus was a figure of peace. Now, we agree with that. We love Jesus Christ as Muslims because we must believe that Jesus Christ was a prophet, a messenger, and the Messiah. We must believe in all of that.
We must. This is how faith works, by the way. Like, you don't need reason. You don't need any logical analysis. You just must believe it because it's part of your religion. You just must. No questioning. You just must accept it.
However, the question of him being a figure of peace really depends upon your interpretation. And if one was going to have a segmented, a decontextualized, and uncharitable reading of Jesus Christ in the Christian tradition, okay, then one can come to the conclusion that he was not a figure of peace. I'll tell you how.
Hey, okay, so why is he saying he's being tricky here, okay? He actually knows that Jesus is not a figure of peace because he has evidence for it, but he wants to also not be offending Christians. especially given that he wants to become, invited to Jordan Peterson and all that. So he's saying, if you're uncharitable, if you read I don't know what he's going to read, Christian scripture uncharitably, then Jesus will not be a figure of peace. However, I think he knows, and we know, what he actually means is that Jesus is not a figure of peace. I think he knows that.
Point number one, Jesus Christ, as Christologically or understood, Christologically in the sense that Protestants and Catholics understand him to be, is inseparable from the rest of the Trinity. As such, all of those massacres that you see in the Old Testament,
right,
of the Canaanites and the Amalekites and so on,
right,
are or would be commanded by Jesus Christ, according to this Christological understanding.
Right.
Now, let me give you one example.
I agree. I agree. See, I can agree with Mohammed Hijab when he goes anti-Christianity, when he goes anti-Christian belief with you, like, because there's technically in Christianity, Jesus and Yahweh are the same dudes. They're the same dudes. So when Yahweh said, like, do genocide on these people in the Old Testament, it was Jesus. That be Jesus who did that.
Very famous verse. I'll read it word for word. So once again, I'm not.
Look at it there, guys. Atheists and Mohammed Hijab are getting along. People are saying a good point. He's not wrong. Yes, we agree. See, I told you I'm going to be fair. I told you I'm not going to be biased. Okay. When Mohammed Hijab was being ridiculous, we were like, that's stupid. And now, when he's saying that Jesus, according to the both Old and the New Testament, he was not a figure of peace, I'm like, point Mohammed Hijab against Jordan Peterson.
Misquoting anything. Not 1 Samuel 15:3.
Oh, actually, there's another point. This is whataboutism. I always have a problem reading this fallacy. Tu kukei. So I'm just gonna because I always forget how to. Is it kikoi, kokwe, koki? Why did they name this fallacy like this? It's so stupid. That's why I always refer to it as whataboutism. Yeah, exactly. John M. I come not to bring this peace, but bring a sword. This is what we refer to. Like, guys, you don't even need to go to the Old Testament to say Christianity was not peaceful. The New Testament itself has plenty of examples to show why Jesus was not a peaceful figure.
Okay, very famous commandment in the Old Testament. Now go attack the Amalekites and totally destroy all that belongs to them. Do not spare them. Put to death men and women, children and infants.
This is Yahweh. This is Yahweh, which technically is Jesus, commanding people to put to death even the children. Even the children. This is Jesus.
Cattle and sheep, camels and donkeys. I would love
and donkeys. By the way, guys, look at us getting along with Mohammed Hijab. We agree. Mohammed Hijab, look, see, we agree. We could get along. We could get along in donkeying and Christianity.
For anybody to be able to find a single hadith or a single verse of the Quran, which states these categories of people to be killed. In fact,
he's true. This is actually more vile than Islam. There's nothing in Islam that specifically tells you to go kill the children. Do we have one hadith that is not even the Quran? We have one hadith that people say, like, we killed like the children of polytheists, and Muhammad's like, meh, it was their kids. It's not our kids. Okay, but we don't have Muhammad ever directly saying go kill the children. We don't have that. We don't have that in the Quran or the hadith, right? But we have that in Christian and Jewish scripture, Yahweh saying, go kill those kids. Furthermore, he also says, go bash their babies' heads into the wall, into rocks. That's what Yahweh says in the Old Testament. That is more vile than Islam. Okay? That is more vile than Islam. I have to be honest here. Okay?
The opposite is there. The opposite is in the hadith. You are not allowed to kill children. You are not allowed to kill non-combatant disbelievers. As the Prophet Muhammad said, "Man qatala mu'ahadan lam yarih ra'ihat al-jannah." Whoever kills a non-combatant, non-disbeliever, he will not smell the fragrance of heaven. This is...
Well, Islam is full of contradictions because there are other places that he says the exact opposite. Okay? Technically, I mean, I guess like Muhammad was a better warlord because most of the time he said, "Don't kill the children and women; they be precious properties." I mean, why would you kill the women and children where they could bring you money? Like they could be slaves, right? Like it makes no, as a warlord, it makes no strategic sense when you kill the men who could pick up arms against you. The ones who can't pick up arms against you, you sell them either as sex slaves or I don't know what other kind of slaves there are. Okay, like obviously Muhammad was a more strategic warlord than whoever wrote whatever Yahweh said.
So these categories of people, it's there in the Old Testament, and according to the Christological
By
understanding.
the way, imagine being proud of the fact that you're not killing women and children, but instead selling them as sex slaves. Like, look at us. We're so progressive compared to the Old Testament. We don't kill the women and children. We just sell them for weapons of, for money to buy weapons. Look at how much progress we have made. We came so far. We are so proud of this community. We are so proud of ourselves.
Jesus is not to be separated from the rest of the Trinity. So that's the first thing. And you must say that's the Old Testament. And this is one of many verses. I can pull out, you can go on Google and see how many verses.
Do the baby bashing, do the baby head bashing in the rocks from the Old Testament. That's a good one to show to people.
Verses there are like this.
Yeah.
Of genocide and massacring. That's the first thing. The second thing is, well, look at Jesus himself. Once again, we're being uncharitable here. If one is being uncharitable and decontextual,
he's so unfair. Like you're not being uncharitable. This is how Christianity and Judaism is. This is the Old Testament and New Testament. If you were being uncharitable, you would give the honest opinion. You would be like, this is the uncharitable view of it, and here's the actual view of it. You know that this is not. There's no excuse for this. What is it, guys? What is the charitable position for Yahweh telling, the Israelites to go kill the children and donkeys and the women? Like, what is it? Give me the charitable position on this. I know the charitable position is like, well, this was back then. This was back then. He didn't say we should do it all the time. I'm sorry. Your God is a monster, even if he didn't continue doing genocides. If he did genocide sometimes and then he stopped, it doesn't make your God not a monster, okay? You're like, he used to do genocide, but he doesn't command us to do genocide anymore. He's a good God. Oh, wow. So lovely. Such a nice God. He only used to do genocide. Like, what is the charitable position?
One may pull out something from John chapter 2, verse 15, where it states, so he made a whip out of cords and drove them from the temple courts. Both sheep and cattle, he scattered the coins of the money changers and overturned their tables. This is violent behavior, someone can say.
No, someone could say, bro, everyone could say, yeah, this is Jesus. Like, so, hey, Mohammed Hijab, I thought you were like this aggressive dude that didn't pull punches. Okay, why is it now that we're like, oh, if we're being uncharitable? Oh, some could say, like, are you trying? Is it because you want to get invited? You wanted to get invited on Jordan Peterson's podcast? That you're holding your punches. Like, what do you say? Violent behavior. Some people could say, why are you holding back? Weren't you just like alpha guy dude that just aggressive, just go after people and just tell it how it is? Look at you holding back. This is violent behavior. Oh, I have to be careful. Some people could say, not me. I'm not saying Jesus in Christianity is violent, but I don't know, acting like a madman in the temple and flipping tables for some people could say that's crazy. Some people could say that maybe not like proper behavior from a person. Like, yeah, I'm not Muhammad. No, not me, Christians. I wouldn't say that. Please have me on your show.
Skeptic and say, this. Look at him. He's whipping people in the temple, or he's.
If he's whipping people in the temple, then why are you saying some people could say that that's violent behavior? Wouldn't all people say that? That's all sane people say that that's violent behavior. People are just doing their business. They have a spot. The temple is where everyone is. It makes sense to do business at the temple because that's where the crowd is. And this madman is coming and flipping everyone's table and whipping them and saying that this is my daddy's house. get out of my daddy's house. This is my daddy's house. And you're saying some people could say, you are saying he was whipping people. So how are you saying some people could say this is violent behavior?
Turning the tables of Jesus is being very violent, according to the New Testament. And this is in his own life. So once again, is this a figure of peace? Once again, if we had an uncharitable, decontextualized, segmented understanding, one can say this is not a figure of peace, actually, because this disqualifies him of being a figure of peace. Or what are the limits to this term, figure of peace? Do you have to be a pacifist? Well, does one have to be a pacifist to be a figure of peace? What if someone engages as war? Does that disqualify them from being a figure of peace? That's another thing. Third thing is Book of Revelation. Now, we're in the eschaton. Eschatologically, when Jesus Christ comes back, he will let's see what he does. Yeah, coming out of his mouth is a sharp sword with which to strike down the nations. He will rule them with an iron scepter.
Yeah, this is really actually a good point, Mohammed. Like our figure of peace, our role model, like this Jesus, a figure of peace, peaceful religion. He has a sword coming out of his mouth at the end of the sword coming out of his mouth.
He treads the winepress of the fury of the wrath of God Almighty.
This is like a child's, and like the people who wrote the Bible, they were like, you know how in kindergarten, when you're trying to like draw like a badass, like really like powerful being, you give them like machine guns for like arms, and then you put like a missile launcher on their head, and you just fires coming out of their mouth, and their eyes is like they have laser eyes. You draw it like, look at, oh my god, look at this big, look at this monster. He's like so powerful, like machine guns for hands, right? This is a child's understanding of like how to come up with like a creative story or fiction. This is the people who wrote the Revelation, the book of Revelation. Who like, he has eyes everywhere and a sword coming out of his mouth, and he has 14 heads, and there's like a scar on one of his heads, and then there's a sword coming out of the tongues, there's heads on the tongues, and there's a sword out of the mouth from the, there's a number here, and there's a mark over there, and we're like, gee, who wrote this? Okay. I think like this was like a, I don't know, 8-year-old in like back then's kindergarten, and then he thought it was so good. People told him like, yes, sword out of mouth, so cool, and then he believed that it's a good story and got published, canonized.
So he's going to come back and be violent. Now, these are things you may say, well, these are just interpretations of the Bible. I know that you have a spiritual kind of metaphorizing approach to the biblical text. I'm very aware of
that's the only way you can make the only way you can make such obviously horrible, violent, disgusting teachings. The only way that you could pretend that there's anything good in any of the scripture, it would be like, this is actually a lot more intelligent than the rest of you realize. Okay, this is all metaphorical. This is like all very, very good. You just have to put your big brains on to be able to comprehend even the fraction of what I have understood. Like I have read like 500 books, and only now I have been able to just scratch the surface of scripture. Like this is Jordan Peterson kind of nonsense, right? They're like, I have to read a library worth of books and spend decades to be able to understand the enigma behind the wisdom that is the Christian scripture. Just to be able, like, there's so much wisdom hidden in plain sight, and I just have to like have such big brains to be able to understand that. Like, really, you think like people that wrote these like 2,000, 5,000, 4,000 years ago, they didn't have access to the library. Like the books that you're reading are all modern books. Do you think like the people who wrote this back then were like these geniuses that had like so much wisdom, and for some reason they decided to, instead of sharing that wisdom with the whole world in clear language, to hide it behind an enigma that only somebody as genius and smart and well-read as Jordan Peterson could come and just only unearth a fraction of it for the rest of us? Like, what's the point of all that? How did these people in back age, in the Bronze Age, and ever since then were such geniuses that we need somebody like Jordan Peterson to just come and just like reveal what the true meaning of, like, how did they manage, those people with much limited no access to science and academia and the understanding of how society and nature works, how did they manage to like have this much wisdom And if they did, why did they hide it under so much puzzles and enigma that you would have to come as a prophet that is Jordan Peterson, come and unearth it for us? Like, how ridiculous of a claim all of this is.
That. And you may say that that's not the way the historical Jesus.
This is obviously just like this is the only way that you could look at nonsense and try to make it like this is like polishing turd, right? They're just like, okay, this is not a giant crap sandwich. Like, this is not a shit sandwich that I'm shoving down your mouth. This actually tastes good, okay? You're like, imagine if somebody makes a shit sandwich and is shoving it down in your mouth, and you're like, this is disgusting, please stop. Like, no, you just like, you have to like taste this. You have to look at what I'm doing with your third eye, and you have to have like the spiritual tongue that tastes things differently. This does not taste like shit, you know? Just like go on the high. You have to think about all of this in a higher level to understand why this is actually the most delicious sandwich you have ever experienced.
Just which I look at, or that how I interpret Jesus Christ. But then I have to say to you, Jordan Peterson, with all due respect, your interpretation of Jesus Christ is irrelevant in the grand scheme of the Christological understanding.
Hey, I agree. I'm like, hey, this is actually Christianity, says Jordan Peterson, talking about Christianity in a way that the vast majority of Christians and Christian understanding of history is completely in contradiction of. Like, no, all Christians throughout history got it wrong. And what I'm saying Christianity is actually what Christianity is. Like, yeah, sure, Jordan Peterson, sure.
For 2,000 years of history, church fathers up until present day people, scholars of Christianity, interpret these things as literal. Okay, yeah. Scholars of Christianity,
even the people who don't look at it literally, completely, like, for all of history of Christianity, have gotten different understanding of what all of this means. Okay, and also the understanding of what the purpose of the scripture was and how it came to be. Both Christian and secular scholars of the New Testament and the Old Testament have completely different understanding of what any of this is compared to what Jordan Peterson is trying to convince us of all of this is about. Okay. So, yeah, you could completely dismiss all of this nonsense.
See, almost as a consensus, a matter of consensus, agree that Jesus is inseparable from the Trinity. So he.
Okay, wait. Somebody's saying, Armin, are you going to address the Muslim philosophers that refuted your moral philosophy on the Thought Adventure podcast? Well, maybe link to it in the comment section and I'll take a look.
Would be implicated in.
It has to be short. Like look at this video that I'm reviewing. It's like 20 minutes. If a video gets up more than 20 minutes, it's going to, like, look at this. Like, we're 1 hour in this review. Okay, so if you want to send me videos to review, it cannot be like more than 20 minutes, or else we would not be able to review it. It will take ages for us to finish the review.
Telling people to genocide people in the village. People, Christians from the church fathers until this present day, believe that Jesus is going to have a second coming, and it will be a physically violent second coming.
True.
And if you want resources or references of this, they are very easy. It's
amazing. Mohammed, Hijab making sense, actually.
To come by. So once again, this fake dualism, with all due respect, this didactic representation, this dichotomy that you've created, figure.
Big boy words. I'm going to use big boy words because that's what intellectuals do. That's what intellectuals do. I'm an intellectual. I'm an intellectual. Mohammed Hijab wakes up in the morning, looks in the mirror. I'm an intellectual. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You're an intellectual. You're a heavyweight intellectual, Mohammed Hijab. You are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You're a big boy. You use big boy words.
Of peace versus Warlord. It's like a deck of cards. If you just pull one card out, falls over. It's a false comparison. And it relies upon uncharitable, cherry-picked examples of the text, and this requires a retraction as well. In order for, with all due respect, one's intellectual integrity to be maintained, I think at least you should say, I suspend judgment until I've done more investigation. This is the second point. The third point I must say is, and this is the last point I will be making, why compare what Muslims consider as a prophet with what Christians consider as a god? Let me say that one more time. Muslims believe that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the final.
Because Muhammad, okay. First of all, Muhammad is supposed to be the role model, the perfect role model for all Muslims. Okay, So, okay, so what he's saying is kind of fair, but not with regards to the question that was being asked, okay, of Jordan Peterson, or what he was responding to at least, okay? So the role that Jesus has in Christianity, in Islam, that role is the same role that would be the Quran, okay? So in Christianity, Jesus is divine, but in Islam, Muhammad is not divine himself. In Islam, the Quran is the divine entity, okay? And so it's kind of like flips. It's kind of like a mirror image. Like the Gospels or the New Testament, okay, in Christianity is not divine, but it reflects the divine. It shows you how it makes sense of the divine for you. Like Jesus Christ is divine, and the Gospels are supposed to make sense of his divinity for you, right? In Islam is the opposite, okay? It's not, Muhammad is not divine, the Quran is divine, and Muhammad is supposed to make sense of the Quran through his life, like him being a perfect role model. So us as mere mortals cannot understand what is it like to live by the Quran, and that's why we have Muhammad and his hadith and his sirah and what he did and said as a way to understand what it would look like for somebody to live perfectly according to the Quran. Okay, so the role that the New Testament, the scripture plays in Christianity, Muhammad plays that role in Islam, and the role that Jesus has in Christianity, the Quran, the scripture plays that role in Islam. So it's basically the scripture, and in Islam is like the Jesus, the figure in Christianity, and the scripture in Christianity is like Muhammad, the figure in Islam. It's kind of like the opposite, right? Does that make sense? But again, the reason why, as an outsider, we look at, we might compare Jesus with Muhammad, is because as humans, when we're looking at somebody to emulate or something to emulate, we relate with a figure, like we look at as a role model. So even though Muhammad in Islam doesn't have the role of Jesus in Christianity, right? It's not the divine entity. As humans, psychologically, when we want to see what it looks like to be a Christian, what does being a Christian mean, or what does being a Muslim mean, we look at the person, right? Like we like who's the guy, who's the person, who do you have? And Christianity has Jesus, and Islam has Muhammad, and obviously that's why people will compare Muhammad with Jesus, even though technically, theologically, they play different roles. It makes sense why people would want to compare them. Oh, look at this, Susanna, with the perfect summary. Jesus, divine Bible message. Susanna, Quran, divine Muhammad, messenger. Perfect summary, Susanna. Good job.
Final prophet. They believe that he is the final prophet of a long list of prophets: Abraham, Moses, Jesus, yes, as well. Jesus, yes, the Messiah, and the Prophet Muhammad. We believe that he is وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا كَافَةً لِلنَّاسِ. He was sent for all of humanity. As the Quran states, we have not sent you except for all of humanity.
I mean, the message, like if you want to simplify this to the extreme, if you want to look at the way of life, Christianity could be like some to follow. If you want to look at how to be a good Christian, you would ask yourself, what would Jesus do, right? What is, you will make Jesus the role model. In Islam, you ask, what would Muhammad do? That's the whole point of hadith. So I agree that there's differences, but at the end of the day, if you want to follow someone's footstep, you have Jesus and Muhammad. So I know they're not technically, they play different roles, but that's what it comes down to. So it makes sense to compare them.
But Christians believe, on the other hand, and this, by Christians I mean here, the vast majority of them across time and in today's demography, believe that Jesus is God. So why are you comparing a prophet to a god? It's not a like-for-like comparison.
It doesn't have to be a like-for-like comparison. If two things were exactly the same, you couldn't compare them. Like people always say, like, oh, these are different, so why are you comparing them? Well, that's why I'm comparing them, because they're different. If two things were exactly the same, you wouldn't even be able to compare them because they are exactly the same.
Unless, and this is ironic, one has to come into what would at least be more commensurate with an Islamic understanding of who Jesus was, which is a man, not a God.
I mean, aren't you comparing them by just telling us why we can't compare them? You're like, how are you like? He's like, how are you comparing them? Muhammad was like this, and Jesus was like this. You just compared them. Muhammad Hijab. You just did. You did the thing. You did the thing. You just compared them.
In order for you to make that comparison, see, subconsciously you're thinking, I'm doing a man-to-man comparison, or unconsciously, let's use exactly the psychoanalytic Freudian terms. Subconsciously is a vernacular term, right? Speaking to a psychologist, so I have to keep everything tight. But what I'm saying is, maybe unconsciously you've understood that this is a man and this is a man, and we can make a comparison like for like. But according to the Christological understanding, he is a man, Prophet Muhammad. Sorry, yes, Prophet Muhammad is a man.
So we can't compare them, right? We can't compare them. Look.
And Jesus is a God.
You just compared them. Muhammad Hijab, you just compared them. You just did it. You just said we can't compare them, and you followed up by comparing them.
What you should be doing, if you're being theologically consistent, is comparing Allah to Jesus. Allah in the Quran is the God of the creator of the heavens and the earth, which we don't believe can be divided into Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. This is our major quarrel with Christians, theological quarrel. This is a bone of contention. We believe that Allah is the creator of all things, that it's not conceivable or intelligible or pardonable that anybody with a date of birth can be called God, and that Jesus is therefore disqualified from being God. And by the way, I think many
that's what you think. That's what you think. Okay, so they don't think that. So you're like, if you agree with what we're saying, therefore these two things cannot be compared. Well, they don't agree with what you're saying.
Christians listening to me right now resonate with what I'm saying, and you know it, and you even resonate with it. They resonate with the fact that calling a man God, God man, this is something which is unintelligible in the mind of human beings.
You know why? Because everything religious is completely like ridiculous. Like all of it. Like, oh yeah, this doesn't make any sense. Yeah, you know why? Because it's religion, Muhammad Hijab.
And this is the real bone of contention. So why make this false comparison between Christ, who is according to the Christian tradition a God, and Muhammad, who is according to the Islamic tradition a man in the first place?
We already addressed this. Move on.
May it be because you have already accepted the Islamic premise that both of them are men. And if so, you're a step closer to Islam. And therefore, I'm going to end with this. Really.
Wait, what? I mean, I agree that both of them are men. Does that make me a step closer to Islam? Well, I mean, Jordan Peterson, at least at the time of the video, was a little bit less Christian-y. Like now he's like stepping into more accepting Jesus as a divine figure. At that moment, he wasn't. So obviously, he was looking at Jesus more of a man that's not a god. Does that make it closer to being Muslim? Like, as okay, Muhammad Hijab, I guess I'm closer to you as well. I also think both of them were just men. Wow, look at us. Like, we're just agreeing with each other.
I invite you to really think about
secret Muslim alert. Oh my God. Oh no, I'm a secret Muslim. This is Tariya confirmed. Guys, Hindutva was correct. I'm a secret Muslim because just like Muslims, I don't believe Jesus was a god.
Islam as a true system, as a paradigm replacement to the Christian system, because that might be what you're looking for.
Ooh.
It in fact might be what you need, Jordan Peterson. But at the very
did he just invite Jordan Peterson to Islam?
least.
Do you think in the podcast that they did, I can't wait for that podcast to come out, guys. I can't wait for that to come out. I want to review it in pieces, okay? I hope they cut them into pieces. But do you think like he at any point he tried to convert Jordan Peterson to Islam?
At the very least, Jordan Peterson, do me one favor. Do the right thing and make a retraction on this point, that the point of Warlord, this comparison, say that this is a hasty generalization.
I bet you Jordan Peterson during the interview, he must have said something like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have called him a warlord. Like, I think like Jordan Peterson would have, I don't know. We'll see. Okay.
It was in your words, and you said this in your book, by the way, your newest book, 12 Rules. It's a low resolution blanket statement, a hypersimplification. These are your words, not mine. A hyper.
You tell me I yell at people. This guy is crazy.
Simplification.
How is it a simplification? If you do warlordy stuff, you're a warlord. How is that a simplification? If you murder somebody, you're a murderer. If you do warlordy stuff, you're a warlord. It's not simplification. It's not a simplification, hyper simplification. It's not that. It's just a definition of a person who does warlordy stuff. Okay, that's the definition. Okay, hypersimplification. If you call the things by what they are, if you actually use the definition of the words to describe somebody, that's not hypersimplification, Mohammed Hijab. It's just using words the way they're intended to.
Think about it. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Oh my God. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi iblis wa barakatuh. Anyways, that was something. Like, wow, that woke me up. All right, guys, this was fun. I need to go. I need to go eat. I'm hungry. I get hungry so fast. I already ate before the stream. Let me just check a little bit before some of the points. Guys, make sure you like this video. Make sure you like this video. And also, remember to go... hold on. Guys, your likes actually really helps us grow. So make sure you do. And also make sure you go and retweet this. Either retweet this or, again, better. It would be better if you just make the tweet yourself to try to get back our Twitter account. I'm going to post the link to this in the live chat as well. So you could either retweet this if you're feeling lazy, or you could just, better would be if you just copy and just tweet it yourself. Okay. This will help us Twitter support get noticed, because again, believers, the religious people have decided to, target our Twitter account and get it suspended. And this was a completely easily provable false targeting campaign that if Twitter support notices, we will get our Twitter account back. So please help us out with that. But other than that, also please like this video so that we could grow at least some here a little bit on YouTube. Black Angel is saying, a link to that, by the way, guys, in the description as well. Okay, so check that out. Black Angel saying, I wonder if Mojo asked Jordan Peterson if he's a simp who is into golden shower. Oh my God. Yes, that would be interesting. I don't think he did that. I would be very surprised. All right. Anything else? I really want to go. Okay, here's the link. Make sure you go and retweet that and do all of that thing. All right, guys. Thank you for your time. I'm gonna go. I'm starving. So I'm gonna go. But thank you for being here. Make sure you share our videos. Make sure you engage. Leave a comment if the stream is good. Give me some recommendation on other things. I didn't answer what. Is this? I don't know. Leave some comments on some other videos you would like me to review in the comment section after the stream is over. And yeah, if you comment, it helps with the engagement as well. And please recommend our channel, Atheist Republic, to as many people as possible. And sign up for our newsletter, because they remove, guys, the Hindus and the Muslims are after us. They're removing all our accounts. They're finding loopholes in the system to try to get our accounts. They're coming after our Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. They're taking them down one by one. So it's very important for you guys to get on our newsletter. Link in the newsletter. We have gifts for you if you become a subscriber to our newsletter. We have blasphemous art. We have my book, Why There's No God, for free, available, which is a bestseller. You get it for free. So make sure you subscribe to our newsletter. And that way we will always have access to you, even if they wipe us out completely from all social media. All right. Thank you, guys. Bye. May Iblis be with all of you.